Alright, let's continue on with this very important scene. Obviously, I hope you guys are watching the other videos as well on the YouTube course and everything to get through the whole book. Can't cover everything, so I'm just trying to hit important stuff, but especially in the early sections, we need to understand key themes, and then you'll see how those play out in the rest of the novel. So, as they go to this lady's house and are doing this job to burn down her house, things took a bad turn. Something that they're normally not used to happened, which is that the woman herself actually stayed in the house. And what did she do here? She knelt among the books, touching the drenched leather carpet, reading the gilt titles with her fingers in her eyes while her eyes accused Montag. So she actually kneels down, stays with the books, and willingly dies with her books for the sake of freedom. And she says, "You can't ever have my books." Well, how does that work? Like, they actually are burning the books now. But she means inside of her, like her freedom in her mind. B says, "You know the law. Where's your common sense? None of those books agree with each other." None of those books agree with each other, he says. "You've been locked up here for years with a regular damned Tower of Babel. Snap out of it. The people in those books never lived. Come on now." Well, now we're getting a view into Beatty's, the official propaganda, but also Beatty's point of view, because he says, he's the one who says this. So it's the official view of the government. So why are they burning books? Like, what's going on in this society? Well, he says none of those books agree with each other. And then he has this reference to the Tower of Babel. Well, what's that? Well, it kind of looked like I guess like a ziggurat, almost like a birthday cake. It's kind of like that. The Tower of Babel. Well, what's that? Couple things are related here. Babylon, which is an ancient kingdom, and the city, and the Tower of Babel is where we get the word Babel from. It means a confused sound. Okay? Plus confusion. Confusion of what? They call it the confusion of tongues, meaning languages. And so what we actually get here is Beatty making a historical allusion to what? A historical reference to the book of Genesis in the Bible, chapter 11. And what happens in that chapter? Well, at that time, everyone in the world was speaking one language. Okay? So at the time, there was a one world language. And previous in the book of Genesis, chapter 3, humanity had been told to spread out, populate the earth, be fruitful and multiply, God told Adam and Eve. But there was a guy named Nimrod who was a powerful hunter and a global leader. And he founded two totalitarian empires, basically. They were very, very powerful world empires. And he founded these cities, the cities of Babylon and also Nineveh. And so you had the two world kingdoms came out of this one guy, the Assyrian Empire and the Babylonian Empire. Came out of this guy Nimrod. He founded those original cities. And in the story of the Tower of Babel, he said, no, we're not going to spread out and fill the earth. We're going to build cities, and we're going to build a huge tower. And this tower is going to be so tall, it would reach to the heavens. So through the clouds, they would almost become like God. And some people think it was also a religious system that you had to climb up the levels to get higher up in the religion, okay, and that they were worshiping Nimrod like a god, like a kind of false god, not the real God, okay. Well, what's Beatty saying? He's saying books don't agree together. They're like confusion. Why? What happened in this story in Genesis chapter 11 is the people are disobeying God, so God comes down, and this one world language, God confuses their language. How? By making many, many languages, okay? So they were one language before, then they get many languages. And so they can't understand each other anymore, and they can't work together. And so this whole project of the Tower of Babylon, the Tower of Babel, gets frustrated by God. And so the people give up, and they stop building that tower, and they spread out, and they go and they according to now their new languages, they go into people groups and spread throughout the world. But that's where we get the word Babel from, like babies babble, goo goo gaga, whatever. So, you know, it's a confused sound. So Beatty's philosophy is like, we don't need these books because they're what create confusion. The whole house is going up, said Beatty. The men walked clumsily to the door. They glanced back at Montague, who stood near the woman. You're not leaving her here, he protested. She won't come. Force her then. Beatty raised his hand in which was concealed the igniter. We're due back at the house. Besides, these fanatics always try suicide. The pattern's familiar. Montague placed his hand on the woman's elbow. You can come with me. No, she said. Thank you anyway. I'm counting to 10, said Beatty. 1, 2. Please, said Montague. Go on, said the woman. 3, 4. Here, Montague pulled at the woman. The woman replied quietly, I want to stay here. 5, 6. You can stop counting, she said. She opened the fingers of one hand slightly, and in the palm of her hand was a single slender object, an ordinary kitchen match. So this lady, she has a match, and she's gonna light it up herself and start the fire. Okay, that's my flames. Alright, so she's gonna actually start the fire herself here. The sight of it rushed the men out and down away from the house. Captain Beatty, keeping his dignity, backed slowly through the front door, his pink face burnt and shiny from 1,000 fires and night excitements. God, thought Montague, how true. Always at night the alarm comes, never by day. Is it because the fire is prettier by night? More spectacle, a better show? The pink face of Beatty now showed the faintest panic in the door. The woman's hand twitched on the single matchstick. The fumes of kerosene bloomed up about her. Montague felt the hidden book pound like a heart against his chest. Go on, said the woman, and Montague felt himself back away and out of the door after Beatty down the steps across the lawn, where the path of kerosene lay like the track of some evil snail. So notice the insect kind of gross language, evil snail, slimy, kind of gross. Again, the firefighters and the technology is usually characterized negatively. On the front porch where she had come to weigh them quietly with her eyes, her quietness a condemnation, the woman stood motionless. Beatty flicked his fingers to spark the kerosene. He was too late. Montague gasped. The woman on the porch reached out with contempt for them all and struck the kitchen match against the railing. People ran out of the houses, all down streets. So she committed suicide in a way, but for a cause. So suicide for a cause is usually called martyrdom. Martyrdom. So a martyr is someone who dies for a cause. Now, it could be a suicide bomber might consider themselves a martyr as well, but so I'm not commenting on the validity of the cause. Now, when they get back to the firehouse, actually, Beatty knows the reference. Montague is, they said nothing on their way back to the firehouse. Nobody looked at anyone else. Montague sat in the front seat with Beatty and Black. They did not even smoke their pipes. They sat looking out the front of the great salamander as they turned the corner and went silently on. Master Ridley, said Montague at last. What? She said Master Ridley. She said some crazy thing when we came in the door. Play the man, Master Ridley. Something, something, something. We shall this day light such a candle by God's grace in England as I trust shall never be put out, said Beatty. Stoneman glanced over at the captain, as did Montague, startled. So notice Beatty, he knows the quote. Beatty has this historical knowledge. He's not stupid. He actually knows the true history. But for some reason, he's still burning books. Beatty rubbed his chin. A man named Latimer said that to a man named Nicholas Ridley as they were being burnt alive at Oxford for heresy on October 16, 1555. Montague and Stoneman went back looking at the street as it moved under the engine wheels. I'm full of bits and pieces, said Beatty. Most fire captains have to be. I surprised myself. Watch it, Stoneman. Stoneman braked the truck. So Stoneman, Black, all these guys who are with Beatty, they're very surprised that Beatty knows this stuff. Because you're not supposed to have this knowledge. But Beatty says it's part of his job. Fire captains have to know, or that you just pick up bits and pieces as you kind of go along in your job. You see stuff and whatever. But it's very surprising to them, almost so much that the driver is like getting distracted and nearly, crashing into something. Damn, said Beatty, you've gone right by the corner of where we turned for the firehouse. All right, so everybody is thrown off by this whole situation. The fact that the woman was a martyr for this cause. The fact that Beatty is like showing twice that he has all this crazy knowledge. He knew about the Tower of Babel, and where does that come from? Well, that's coming from this biblical text in the book of Genesis. Okay, so we're going to get into the whole issue of the Bible, and Montague's going to find a Bible later. What's that all about? Why the Bible? Why did Ray Bradbury choose that text for Montague to steal? So lots of stuff for us to explore in the following videos. I'll see you in the next one.